Let us chant Namo Tassa before the start of the session. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. So today, everyone, having completed the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, or rather the practice of Indriya Bhavana. We did not do the sutra. We have done the sutra before, however, completing sort of going through of how we might practice Indriya Bhavana. We have gone through what a sense experience is. And in that sense experience, how we sort of bring in Yonisumanasikara through saññā, perception, where we are able to then, in a way, intersect the cognition of the object, where the object will now not be perceived, quote unquote, perceived, through Ayonisumanasikara, leading to saṅkhāras, which would create continued existence, or saṅkhāras will lead to the continued sort of existence within the cycle of rebirth and death. Now, a part that we've completed the practice on Indriya Bhavana. That is done. So I was thinking, okay, what can we do after this? How can we further facilitate, in a way, a deeper understanding of our practice, of what we endeavor to strive to do, with a greater sense of understanding over the mental continuum, right? How do we better understand this process of intersection that we do in now bringing in Yonisumanasikara into our daily lives? And to this question, which I asked myself in sort of preparing for this class today, I thought the best possible way that we can discuss and go further to build upon the foundations that we have built through the study of Indriya Bhavana, or how to carry on with the study of Indriya Bhavana, the practice, would be the study or understanding of the Papanchas, right? Papanchas. Because as we know, or some might not, the Papanchas is something which lingers and exists in such an insidious manner within our mental continuum, operational within our consciousness and mental factors, and the way that these sort of chitta niyamas work out, the aspect of Papanca is very much present in each and every part of these consciousnesses and conscious processes that run. When asking the question of what we are trying to battle in the practice, what do we battle in order to establish samadhi? What do we battle to establish a clear sense of clarity in mind with regards to the practice? What do we battle, or what do we face in that battle which hinders our progress upon the path? If we are to come to a single specific term, it would be the Papanchas, nothing more, nothing less. The Papanchas is the continuous element that we would face, which arises as a hindrance, which arises as a fetter, which arises as an encumbrance to a state of mind where we do not cultivate, further proliferate, develop what? saṅkhāras which lead to karmas that accumulates to bring about our continued existence within this cycle of rebirth and death. The Papanchas, right, before we go on to the Papanchas, let us build a bit more foundation. Now, being meditators, we understand we've started from a very beginner's level, right? We've seen how our perception of what we held to be true at one point when we started our practice has drastically changed as we day in, day out committed, practiced, and put more energy into the cultivation of the practice, right? We've seen this in the way that we perceive ānāpāna-sati, the breath. What is the breath? Right? How the things that we know of the breath and the operations of the breath is rather different from when we first started to observe the breath. Vedananupassana, the way that we perceive, the way that we first saw, experience the sensations, feelings, Vedana, regardless of what kind of Vedana. Now we have a more deeper, a bit more refined understanding of how this Vedana manifests to become what we think or thought it once was, right? That saññā has changed. Even when we look at the consciousness, the mind, the person who first might have not had much trust that we would be able to progress in the path, right? Yet we've made time, we've committed, we've put in energy, we've struggled, yet given into the struggle and given more energy into turning those struggles into insight. Now see, there has been a clear shift. In meditation, we see, and we might have personally experienced, when it comes to a person whose nature is, let us say, anger, this person practices metta. In giving in more time and effort into the practice of metta, the person now reduces upon the temperament of anger, and now arises a temperament of compassion, a temperament of understanding, a temperament of, let us say, softness, right? A temperament of patience, all created or brought about by the understanding of hatred, the understanding that hatred brings no good, and of course, the embracing of compassion and the smooth flowing, comfortable, light essence of compassion. There has been a transformation. Now, because of metta, the temperamental and angry person has now become far more compassionate, far more non-reactive, right? Then we come to practices such as, let us say, marananusati, where a person who contemplates marananusati, right, now sees the eminence, the potential of the end when it comes to us first perceiving solidity of life, right? And having a sense of delusion, the person arrives at a better state of disillusion, nibbindati, disillusionment from the illusion that this endures forever. This meaning all life, right? A saññā, a perception change has occurred. When it comes to practices such as Attika-saññā, people begin seeing, practitioners begin to see everything as a, let us say, a skeleton, right? A skeleton. This is not a hallucination. This is what we begin to see, which is most interesting, I believe, right? This is what we begin to see. Just as, for example, with metta, we begin to see the insecurities creating the hatred that we are experiencing from an outside person, a foreign energy, right? This is what I want to establish. That what we might see, just because we see it, does not mean that it is real. And that is what the Buddha arrives to in sutras such as the Madhupindika Sutra. When he speaks about the disillusionment with the senses that is not further proliferated by the mind, because the saṅkhāras which first proliferated created a pathway, a gateway for the anusayas to further facilitate the strong arising of vitikam and pariuttana kilesas, now holds less of a hold upon the mind. Right? Now, for example, let us say, when it comes to a practitioner, with Attika-saññā or Metta or Buddhanusati or any one of these meditations that we do, even Kasina Bhavana, right? Where we have the Uggaha Nimittas, right? Any sort of object of meditation. This object, or these objects rather, that become the foundation for the arising of Samadhi, from which Vipassana arises later on. These objects that are taken as base for the cultivation of Samadhi are objects. They are, if we are to use a word from our previous Abhidhamma class, they are concepts, right? Concepts. These concepts, do we not, or can we not say that these concepts holds the power? When it comes to a nimitta, let us say a kasina nimitta, just for the ease of example, when it comes to a kasina nimitta, did not the kasina nimitta allow for the arising of the jhanas? Right? Now the jhana, vitakka, vichara, priti, sukha, ekaggata, and if we go on to the strongest of jhanas, the fifth jhana or the fourth jhana, we find solidity in these positions of samadhi. Is that not correct, everyone? Right? We find solidity. So the concepts that we, if we are to take the physical kasina converted into a mental kasina. This mental kasina was the primary base object for the focus of mind to be established, enabling the bringing about of a strong, solid jhana. Is that not true, everyone? Right? When we learned to tame this mind, this wandering monkey-like mind, earlier, when we were not so used to the concept of metta, did we not mishandle the object when we at times try to perceive or try to sort of radiate, illuminate the mind with a sense of loving kindness? At once it arose, this person doesn't deserve loving kindness for these reasons. Or all of a sudden arises a dosa mind. All of a sudden arises annoyance. All of a sudden arises irritation. Did it not, everyone? It does. It did. Right? However, on the base of the teachings of loving kindness and why the feeling, even the mere feeling of loving kindness, did this not become a solid concept for us to now develop, be able to develop even, of course, a tamed mind where we can really radiate loving kindness and have loving kindness in our hearts and minds, but we could have taken it further into the jhanas. Now see, everyone, this is an important, I'm not just blabbering on, right? I'm not just blabbering on. This is what we need to understand. foundations of concept, although they might be at a certain level in mind, does not mean that they have no solidity or value. Now you tell me, which object perceived through the five senses as mundane laukika puggala gave you solidity of mind? Everything that you have, all your material possessions, your titles, your education, our education, everything of the outside world, right? Everything that has been deemed of a certain value by society, by the world that we live in, right? What gave us through that? What brought about a sense of stability, where we did not have to go in search of anything else? Nothing. Nothing. Is there one thing? If there was a car, the car loses its value over time. We continue the search, right? If it is education, right? Education continue. We learn more and more things. We are learning today, right? Now, both concepts, we have discussed Artha-paññātya and Nama-paññātya on Monday. Both concepts, right? The degree, the title, all of these things are also concepts. Now, this is also a concept, the kasinas, right? Both concepts. However, in nature, in its features, they differ, right? Kasinas are more single-pointed. Kasinas are more, in a sense, more focused. Kasinas are more solid in a sense of they are, the word would be the same all over, right? I can't remember the specific word. The same all over. If it is a kasina, if it is a earth kasina, the earth kasina from east to west or south to north of that kasina, it is the same. Of course, there is variance in the mundane concepts that we would take, but we would take, there are certain concepts that we can take that is not as diverse. However, the kasina object, which is, let us say, in mind, right? The car or whatever it is that we could take, considered of some value, quote unquote, some value in the outside world. Now, what brings about a jhana? What brings about the element of focus in our life? It would be the kasina, right? There is nothing called a car meditation, where we look at our cars and try to go into a jhana. There is no such thing, right? Now, what is then real in this case? Do you understand the point I'm coming to make, right? The point I'm coming to make. What is in that case true in its ability to bring about a state of mind which is at peace, right? Which is at peace. I am not going to say that it is in the kasina. However, the way that one major difference in the way that we would, I'm taking a car just because we all have one, right? If we are to take a car, the way that we look at the car, perceive the car, think of the car, the reason the car is there, all of these things, and the reason a kasina is perceived is entirely different. Both have solidity to a certain extent, right? Both have solidity to a certain extent. The car, which you can touch, has a sense of stability, solidity. The concept of the kasina, now a uggaha nimitta, right, has its solidity in the sense of a mental image. The way that we perceive these two are entirely different, and we perceive these two for entirely different reasons as well, right? which is to say, when it is said, when it comes to an arahant does not make opinions or take action based upon the past. A arahant will not form opinions or saṅkhā. Let me call it saṅkhā. His saṅkhāras, or the saṅkhāras, we are also talking about, we are also sort of creating saṅkhāras at the moment. But our saṅkhāras can be based off the past. Arahant saṅkhāra is not based off the past. Arahant saṅkhāra is based upon spontaneous, it's spontaneous and it's only of the present. Spontaneous and only of the present. Right? It's only of the present. So when it comes to the concepts, the way that we grasp, the way that we cognize, the way that we understand the saṅkhāras is a big question. Because that question then identifies, do the prapanchas, or what action the prapanchas take, and what saṅkhāras are created as a result. What saṅkhāras are created as a result. Is that understood? Right? What saṅkhāras are created as a result. Now, when it comes to the path of practice, so to summarize what I just spoke about for the past 20 minutes, everyone, what just because we see it doesn't mean it is true. Just because you see it, you smell it, you taste it, you feel it, right? And you hear it, does not mean that that is the gospel truth. Do you understand? Then what is truth? There can be truth in concepts, nama and artha, right? Whether it be physically present around us and perceivable through the five senses, or whether it is a mano object, both can have an effect and can be present to a degree, with a degree of solidity within the mind. And it is those concepts that are used in such a manner that goes on to bring about enlightenment, right? Bring about enlightenment. Now, is that understood? Are there any questions that you would like to ask about what I mentioned? Anyone? Is it clear? Any questions? No questions? May I move on? Okay. Now my objective with this discussion is to paint a picture. If that picture is unclear in any sense, of course, please ask, right? Or if you need further clarification, please ask. Something that we see, or something that we've discussed before, are the three types of defilements, rather three levels of defilements, right? Anusaya, Pariyutthāna, Vitikkama. Right? To those of you who are not familiar with the Pali, Anusaya are the latent tendencies. The Pariyutthāna is tendencies or states which manifest through the Anusaya within the mind. So the things that you think, but without physical or verbal action. That is important. Without physical or verbal action. Just think, right? Then comes Vitikkama, which progresses beyond, right? The mind now is manifested through physical and verbal acts. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Now, Anusaya, Pariyuṭṭhāna, Vitikkama. The latent level. And there's a very interesting translation to the Vitikkama and Pariyuṭṭhāna and Vitikkama. Pariyuṭṭhāna, obsessive level, and Vitikkama, transgression level. I'm going to use those translations today, if you don't mind. Right? Obsessive and transgression level, right? Where it transgresses the mind, right? Now, of course, we understand that certain kilesas, right, they arise. We cannot say that they do not arise. Rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion, supported by kama, tanda, vyapada, uddhacca, kukucca, tinamida, vicikicca, the 5 hindrances. Some kilesas, when they arise, they do not go all the way up until the transgression level. They stay within the obsession level, right? Sometimes, let us say, we are at an event, at a public gathering. We are upset about something. However, we have been brought up to know how to behave, right? And not draw attention and unnecessary, unwanted attention to ourselves. Hence, we behave, we do not show that we are upset, right? Now that, because of the, now in this case, an instance, because of, let us say, I'm going to use the word morality, our sense of discipline, right? Really, it is discipline, right? We do not allow the kilesas to transgress beyond the obsession stage of mind to the position where we take physical or make any sort of remark, verbal or physical, right? Now, let us come to Papanca. Where does Papanca arise? Is the question to you. Where does now Papanca infiltrate the mind? Yes, it's a question. You can answer it. Anyone? No one?
Pariyuṭṭhāna level?
Pariyuṭṭhāna level. Why did you say the Pariyuṭṭhāna level there?
I just guessed. I just thought Anusaya is still latent, so it can start at late. I thought by Pariyuṭṭhāna, it's like an obsessional level state that you think. But so the Papanca, I think it's the Tanha Ditthi Mana. So the Tanha is like, the craving, the Ditthi is your opinions, Mana is when you judge. So those levels, they can be anusayas also because they are still latent, and then they go on to be obsessional because they proliferate, but we don't have physical and verbal, and then they will start acting out physically and mentally, and then it becomes vitikkama. I'm just guessing, Bhante. I'm just trying to work through it because they can be latent stated at the beginning because we may be a craving or greedy person.
So are you saying Pariyuṭṭhāna or Anusaya?
I think honestly, because you can have tendency. There are people who are quite greedy and craving, or they are very judgmental. So I would say they at Anusaya level, but they can, if we are not disciplined, they can, and if the circumstances are right, then they can develop into the Pariyuṭṭhāna level, because when the circumstances are right for that, then they can develop into that stage, right? And if you are not disciplined, it go to the transgressional vitikkama stage.
Okay.
I'm just
right. Anyone else? Thank you, Dev.
Bhante, yes. I think it's a Pariyuṭṭhāna.
Yeah.
The reason is at this stage, the concentration will reduce, or the samadhi will stop pariyuttana going through. Pariyuttana is actually standing up. Whatever the fetters, it's a standing up position. Pariyuttana, it's in Pali, it's standing up. And only way you can stop is through samadhi. So because it's stopped through samadhi, because that's the place where you actually, your mind get involved more that, right?
Okay.
And then vitikkama, you can stop vitikkama practically by sila. That means you avoid doing unnecessary bad things, right? So the action, so that's the action stage. Vitikkama. So you will avoid that by what's the word? The bhavana, not bhavana, sila. Sila.
The sila. Discipline.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying pariyuttana as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else who might think otherwise? So Dil and Damsari have both said pariyuttana, but of course Dil has also mentioned that it could very well be anusaya as well, possible, right? Anyone else with a different point of view? Or even a different explanation as to why it is? No one. Okay. Well, when it comes to the prapanchas, the prapancha exists within the anusaya. It enacts at the stage of anusaya. That is when it starts. This sense of the example that came to my mind is, you know, a newborn baby, the inquisitiveness of the child. Everything that you bring has no base data, right? But whatever you bring towards its vicinity, the baby's vicinity, it tries to grab hold of, right? Even grab hold of. It's very inquisitive, right? It's hungry for this sense of knowing what is this, what is this, what is this. In prapancha also works like that, right? Prapancha also works like that. The anusaya is where the prapancha works with. That is why in the first 20 minutes in that initial foundation, I said, prapancha is so insidious and it is present within our mental continuum, right? Mental continuum. When the prapanchas are no more, you are an arhat. When the prapanchas are no more, you are an arhat. What does it mean for the prapanchas to be no more? You are not deluded. You are not a person who is living in cloud 9 with all your imaginations of what is and what is not. You're not giving into the illusions of thinking that there is self in me and there is self in others. You're not disillusioned by the fact. You're not illusioned by the operations of mind and matter, by the natures, the niyamas, niyama dharmas. All of that is missing, right? The first moment that the prapanchas begin to be active is the anusaya. It works very closely with it, right? Now let me ask you something again. For anusaya to work, what is a component of mind that has to be present? A very simple question, although it might sound intimidating. For anusaya to work, what is a component of mind that needs to be present?
The mind of adverting.
The mind of adverting. So all the mind does is advert, no?
Yes, it turns towards that object.
Turns towards the object. So knowing, taking object is all that the mind does, remember? You're close though. What?
Is it greed?
Greed.
Yeah, or delusion. Greed and delusion that give rise to the Papanca to continue.
Tanha dittimana.
Tanha dittimana, yes.
Tanha dittimana. So you're saying greed, tanha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But tanha, okay, if tanha is a prapanca, right? What is the medium through which this tanha arises? There has to be a medium.
It's a mind.
Okay.
Mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Yeah.
mind.
The
Right?
ignorance, the moha, the delusion.
The mind is 8, 9 chittas with 2 chetasikas. Right?
The delusion, the ignorance.
For delusion to arise, tanha ditti, mana, for delusion ditti to arise, there has to be a medium. What is the medium? There is, okay, if point A is anusaya, this is point A, anusaya. This is point B, the object. There has to be something connecting point A and point B.
Is it klesha?
No.
The base, the bhattu.
Now we're play TikTok.
Yeah, I'm guessing, Bhante, I'm sorry. Because the
Conscious,
base,
Bhante.
the sense base, right? Which
Conscious.
is the
Huh?
I mean, just,
If this is the mind, all that the mind does is to know an object, which is point B.
Yeah.
Right? What is the connection between this and this? Let us forget about 8, 9 chitta, 52 chetasikas, everyone. Let us take the Panchaskandha. Right? Rupa, no. Right? That can't be a bridge, no. Right? Rupa, no. So we are not even going to think about Rupa. Vedana, saṅkhā, saṅkhāra, viññāna. Of these 4,
Vijnana.
why did you say viññāna without the other 3?
I don't know, Bhante. I think it's Vijnana. It's through Vijnana that I don't know. I'm guessing.
No.
Yeah.
Perception.
Who said perception?
Me, Padma.
Yes, Padma, it is perception. Right? Think about it. The mind and all that the mind does is knowing of the object. Which is what? Perception. Perception bridges the mind and the object, through which the anusaya now has a direct ability to perform its task. Of what does anusaya do? Anusaya is based on atma, tanha. All of this which comes up through the prapanca. So even if it be the first 12, the akusala chittas, right? There is tanha dittimana, right? But does that mean, everyone, if we are, right now, let us say, now, for example, we are engrossed and committed to the learning and the practice of Dhamma. We meet thrice a week, right, to discuss Dhamma, right, or to learn the Dhamma, right? Now, the Abhidhamma class, the Sutra class, and the Sanya meditation, right? Now, let us say that something happens where, or you are unable to attend, right? Now, if you're coming to the class to sort of understand, to learn something or whatnot, it's going to be Trihetuka Kusala, right? Trihetuka Kusala, Sobana, Trihetuka Kusala Chitta, right? Now, if you're unable to attend, if you're going to miss out, right? Is there no sense of attachment that you have to this? Do you or do you not? Are you or are you not attached to me? I'm just joking. Are you or are you not attached? Let us say the Abhidhamma. There is, right? There is a sense of missing out, right? Now, if there is a sense of missing out, is there no sense of prapancha in Trihetuka Kusala? If I might reword that, rephrase that. Kusala saṅkhāra, punyābhi saṅkhāra leads to what? Good birth, right? Punyābhi saṅkhāra leads to good birth and wholesome result. Even if it is not patisandhi karma, it will lead to wholesome result. If now this saṅkhāra is developed by whom? Me, right? Me, within inverted commas. Me. What is me? Prapancha. Right? Prapancha. Is there any question with regards to that? Do you not agree? Isn't our identity formed of course, our worst parts as well as our good parts? Our identity, our characteristic, you and I, are we not both good and bad? And of course, things that are neither good nor bad as well. We are punyābhi, apunyābhi, ānenjābhi. Right? These saṅkhāras contribute to our karmic living in this samsara. Right? In this samsara. That karmic living is created through the mind grasping of object. Right? Grasping of object. Within that way of grasping the object, there is this insidious force of prapancha. That is what makes us believe that there is truth in what is not real. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Yes, Damsar.
One day,
yes.
But the Madhupindika Sutra says slightly different version, because when it comes to object, and then we have a whatever the consciousness that gives rise to a Vedana feeling.
Yes.
That Vedana actually brings to the saññā or the perception.
Yeah.
Right? And then we keep on repeating that saññā through vitakka.
Yes.
Then we cause the prapancha.
Correct. Absolutely correct, Damsari.
Yeah.
In the Madhupindika Sutra, the process of prapancha is broken into three.
That's right. Yes.
Right. The first of which is the impersonal phase. This impersonal phase ends at Vedana. Right? That is when everyone, this is a Chakku-Vinyan process to make it more clearer.
Yeah.
Right? When we know the taste of the object, which is the Vedana, now we start clinging. That is a saṅkhā. Right? Now we start clinging. That is the saññā, where the mental proliferation process happens. Right? Mental proliferation process happens. And then happens the objective. Right? The objective, where now you have clung. No, it's like child has gone to bed, now he's in bed, wants the doll, has the doll, and what will, once the mother or the father gives the doll to the child, what will the child will embrace the doll and go to sleep. Those are the three phases. The first, we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we feel, the impersonal phase. The second is where the saññā happens. Now, I. And the third is where now we go to rest with the object, as the object now identifying with saṅkhā. Right? We will come to that answer. Right? Those are the three phases in the Madhupindika Sutra. Now, in another sutra, right, called the Kalaha Vivada Sutra, right? Kalaha Vivada Sutra. Papanca is defined as such. Na saññā saññī na visaññā saññī, right? Nopi asaññī na vibhuta saññī. We are not going to go into any of that. Evam sametassa vibhoja rupam. This is last part is important one. Saññā nidānāhi Papañca-saññā. Saññā nidāna, meaning saññā is perception, nidāna hi Papañca-saññā. Papañca-saṅkhāra nidanna vela thiyenne saññāvi thula. That's a translation, right? Proliferation of notions has perceptions as its source is the translation that I have here. Right? Now, coming back to the main question, right? Coming back to the main question, which is, where does Papanca then arise? The mind does not arise without saññā. We know that already, correct? The mind, viññāna, rupa, take it away. Rupa vedana, saññā, saṅkhāra. Right? All of these three need to be present in order for consciousness to be present. When saññā or vedana is not present, consciousness is not present. Now, without consciousness, how is anusaya going to arise, everyone? Do you understand? Does that make sense? Please ask if it doesn't make sense. Right? Consciousness is saññā. Saññā is consciousness. Just as vedana is consciousness, consciousness is vedana. Just as much as viññāna is consciousness, consciousness is viññāna. Right? They are interlinked, they always arise together. Never is a moment where consciousness can arise without these three. Right? So then where does Papanca arise? At the first moment consciousness energy is present, which is that anusaya. Right? Anusaya. Is that clear, everyone? Does that make sense? Anusaya. Right? Anusaya. Any questions?
Can you repeat that part, please, where you say that without saññā and vedana, no consciousness arises? Vedana,
saññā, saṅkhāra.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Viññāna is consciousness, no?
Yes.
Right? Vedana, saññā, saṅkhāra. Saṅkhāra is the mental factors.
Yeah.
Right? Vedana, saññā, and saṅkhāra always arise, has to arise with consciousness.
Sorry, saṅkhāra is not mental factor, it's mental thought.
Viññāna.
Yeah. That is consciousness, isn't it? Mental form.
No, saṅkhāra is saṅkhāra, sorry. So
Saṅkhā.
Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Saṅkhāra, Viññāna.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Vedana is a Chaitasika. Sanya is a Chaitasika. Viññāna are Chaitasikas. Minus 2 Vedana and Sanya. So 50 Chaitasikas are within Viññāna. And then Saṅkhāra, consciousness, 82, 121. Yeah.
Bhante,
Yeah.
you misread the word Viññāna. It's a saṅkhāra.
Saṅkhāra.
Yeah.
Vedana, Sanya,
So saṅkhāra has 50 chaitasikas.
Yes.
Saṅkhāra has 50 chaitasikas, excluding chaitasika feeling and chaitasika perception.
Thank you. Right? So Saṅkhāra.
Yeah.
Right, Dil? Right?
Yes, thank you. Thank
So
you.
Saṅkhāra is Chaitasika.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vedana, Sanya, Saṅkhāra will never arise. Right? Or one of, even just with one, consciousness cannot arise. It has to always arise together. Now, what does this say in the Kalaha Vivada Sutra, which is Sanya Nidanahi Papanca-saññā. Papanca-saññā arises or is founded within Sanya. Right? Is founded within Sanya. Anusaya exists or manifests through consciousness, correct? So then, at the first moment of conscious energy, latent tendencies, right, arises Papanca. That is why everyone, Papanca arises to or with 12 akusala chittas, right? It arises with the ahetuka chittas. It arises with the sobana chittas. It arises in the rupavachara chittas and the arupavachara chittas. The only place that it doesn't arise is the lokotara chittas. Any chitta that creates saṅkhāra, there is prapanca. How do we know this? Because saṅkhāra has the ability to bring about kusala, akusala, neither akusala nor kusala, which is ahetuka, right? Ahetuka vipaka, which leads to karmic rebirth. Why? Because of the saṅkhāra. Right? How does it bring karmic rebirth? How does it have karmic potential within each kusala, akusala, and ahetuka? How do we know? Because karma potential, just as arahants do not produce karma potential which brings about rebirth, karma potential for rebirth is based on what? Me. Right? Me. And that is true to akusala as well as kusala. Just as we would cling to an akusala persona built by the continuous actions rooted in akusala roots, right? We also cling to continuous action of kusala or actions rooted in kusala roots. Is that clear to you? Apau. Again, actions founded or supported by alobha, adosa, amoha are also clung to as aspects of personality. Just as actions done or supported by the roots lobha, dosa, moha are also support the building of personality. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Yeah, does that make sense, everyone? Right. All of which, right? Yeah, Damsari, you want to say something?
Yeah, but that may be the reason why in the Madhupindika Sutra it says Papañca-saññā saṅkhā.
Yeah. Yeah. Papanca-saññā, saṅkhā. Those are three different words. We are going to go into that,
Okay, yeah.
right? Papanca-saññā, saṅkhā, right? Now, Papanca, saṅkhā,
Saññā,
saññā, saṅkhā, right? We will go into what those three words are, right? We will go into what those three words are. Now, any other questions, anyone? Is that understood? Right? So within this saṅkhā, saññā, Papanca is present. Papanca is what? Tanha, Ditti, Mana. Papanca is Tanha, Ditti, Mana. Right? In the process of Papanca, right? Now Papanca we know has saññā. In another way, Papanca has saññā with it. Right? What is the other that it has? Now, Papanca does not arise and just wait. Why can't it just wait? Tanha, Ditti, Mana. These are not qualities that will stay at one level. If you have, let us say, just for the sake of understanding, one mana, tomorrow it will become 2 mana. The day after it will become 3 mana. Isn't that so, everyone? Right? If you are looking at your, let's example, all of your accolades and titles as things that create sort of pride and in a sense of mana, right? Then that mana is only going to increase. Right? Akusala never stays the same. It always increases, spreads like a virus. That is why when the Buddha says, when you open the door to a little akusala, with it comes the potential for great akusala. Is that understood, everyone? Right? So Papanca has saññā. What else does Papanca have? Because Papanca does not have the virtue of being stagnant or staying in one place. Papanca operates through the processes of saññā. What is another process that saññā absolutely needs? Mannyana. Mannyana, conceiving. Right? Conceiving. There are 3 types of mannyana. Do we remember the 3 types of mannyana? Lady Sarah's book has it, mannyana. I think saññā, no. Hold on. Yes. Now, everyone, mannyana here is the process of conceiving, right? But mannyana, the translation is fantasy. And this is absolutely important, everyone. Right? Now, this is why I took 20 minutes to draw the foundation. Fantasy, illusion, and mayavak. Right? Mannyana is divided into 3, or there are 3 types of mannyana. Right? Tanha mannyana, ditti mannyana, mana mannyana, and ditti mannyana. Write it down if you're taking the notes, because that is important. Tanha, mana, ditti. Tanha, mana, ditti. Right? Tanha, mana, ditti, mannyana. Now, let us draw the picture. Papanca, saññā, mannyana. Mental proliferations, which are tanha, ditti, mana. Saññā, which is perception. And then we have mannyana, which is tanha mannyana, mana mannyana, and ditti mannyana. Right? And ditti mannyana. The first, tanha mannyana, is the illusion of fantasy. Mala, do you want to say something?
Bhante, what's the English term for manya?
mannyana.
Mannyana is hallucination is a word used, illusion is a word used, and fantasy is a word which is these three words: hallucination, illusion, fantasy. Right? All right, everyone. Okay, clear? Yes, yes. Tanha manyana, ditti manyana, and mana manyana. Right? M-A-N-N-A-N-A. Right? Now, tanha is, of course, the lusting. This lusting does not only include it includes everything that can be cognized through the 8 lobha mula chittas, right? 8 lobha mula chittas. So it is not only raga, it is everything, food, whatever it is, right? Everything that you can possibly think of and cling on to, right? Tanha manyana. Yes, Dil?
So is that covetousness, Abhidhamma? Is that covetousness?
Yes, it has to have covetousness. But why did you think about that?
Because that is much more than just tanha or greed or just craving. Because abhijja is covetous, everything that they call. So it's abhijja or something. Not avijja, but abhijja or something.
But why are you bringing that up now?
Because you included and said tanha is not just craving or that, but
Craving for lust, because
lust. Yes. It's not only lust. Yes.
lust is taken into sexual pleasures, no?
Yes.
Right?
So
that is why I wanted to make sure that it is not about sexual pleasure, just about sexual pleasures. It's about anything that arises with the 8 lobha mula chittas.
That's why I brought covetousness, because that is not only lust or greed for food, but everything that you grasp. But never mind.
Okay. Covetousness. But let's not use that term, because covetousness also, because of the Abhidhamma, it also means something else. So it might feel as if we are cornering it.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
Right? Now, yes. So the fantasy, the hallucination, or the illusion of lust, then mana manyana, the illusion of conceit, and ditti manyana, the illusion of view. Right? The illusion of view. When we take an object, right? Now, view here is, everyone, belief, right? Belief, right? Now, this belief, now one might say, right? Even when it comes to, let us say, aspects of Buddhism that we learn, right? If we are holding on to it with a sense of prapanca, there can be manyana there as well. Now, what my intention of bringing this up is not for you to be struggling to get rid of the manyana, right? We have to understand how prapanca works, right? And as we have established, prapanca works in an insidious manner and is found in kusala, akusala, and ahetuka. Do you understand, everyone? Right? Only arahants do not have prapanca. Just because that is so does not mean, remember, it is mundane pudgalas who become arahants, right? So just because it is only arahants who do not have the prapanca does not mean that we have to, as practitioners, work in identifying how this prapanca works and cut it as, or what can we do? Understand, what can I do to not allow the proliferation of mind through the prapanchas? Is that understood, everyone? Right? Now, tanha manyana, mana manyana, and ditti manyana. Let us take an example. Let us take cute, adorable babies and children. Right? Now, we know a child coming into this world is considered a blessing. Right? But when we look at it from the whole dukkha khanda, Mahā dukkha khanda, It is a starting of another mass of suffering. Right? Mass of suffering for the parents, for the grandparents, for the family, as well as the child itself, the being itself. Right? Because another addition means another potential of old age, aging, sickness, disease, death, another root of attachment. Severing those ties means more suffering. You understand what I mean, right? Right? It is a start of a Mahā dukkha khanda. However, even for you and I, when we see an adorable child, right, a baby or whatnot, there is a sense of awe. How cute. How wonderful. Right. Now that is how Papanca here works. Now look at that. In that moment, we forgot all the reality and the knowledge of reality that we have. And the cuteness or the attachment rather made us forget about everything else. Right? Made us forget about everything else. Now, when it comes to an instance where let us say anger or holding on to our views, right? Or holding on to our reputations, our mana, our conceit, right? When these things are challenged, our persona changes, right? Our persona changes, our normal, usual Zen persona changes. What happens there? Mannyana. Is that understood, everyone? Mannyana is an illusion, right? This enthralling mentality, this ball of energy that arises committed to a certain thing. However, this illusionary state is all what it says in the word. It's an illusion. That is why the Buddha specifically used the word mannyana. It is nothing more than an illusion. Because now, for example, let us say, everyone, the first greed-rooted chitta, somnasagata, ditthigata sampayutta, asaṅkhārika chitta. This is not an exclusive chitta to me. This is a universal chitta to all of us. We all have experienced the first lobha mula chitta. However, everyone, did you not think that the way that you cling and crave, that all beings in the samsara clings and craves, in that same way, right? In that same way. Just as, for example, as with the three hetuka chitta, somnasagata, jnana, sampayutta, asaṅkhārika, or sasaṅkhārika chitta, just as you experience or do something with that chitta, everyone else, when it comes to good with knowledge, experiences that same chitta. Just as we have now been in this class for 1 hour, 9 minutes, 40 seconds, right? Just as you have aged, your body has aged by 1 hour, 9 minutes, and now 50 seconds, my body has also aged 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 60 seconds. You and I are going through the same processes. Do you understand, everyone? However, because of tanha ditthi mana, because of its insidious existence within the saññā which perceives, through which consciousness arises, and now this faculty of mannyana, which is illusion, complete fallacy, and the belief that that fallacy is real, we create atma. thinking that I am unique. You thinking that you are unique. That we are here unique individuals with a unique sense of Atma. But when we look at it, Chitta, Chetasika, Rupa, that is operational, the way that these minds operate, all of these things, we find these are the arising in the past, in the mechanisms, the forms, the shifts and changes, the pushes and the pulls of energy. However, this energy that I see within the skin, I, illusioned by it, think that this is self. All the accessories that we have, which include our families, our friends, the material stuff, all of that are aggregate to that Papanca. That Papanca. Because see the child from the time of saṅkhā, or some sort of knowing, even though the eyes are not open, right? Even though the eyes are not open, the child is continuously curious. Knows the smell of the mother, the father. Right? What do we find? Even for that little being who knows absolutely nothing, still that sense of holding carries. That sense of I carries. And in that illusion, we keep on producing data which subscribes to the notion, Papanca, notion that there is an I. That there is an I. Right. Now, for example, everyone, this is something that I was thinking recently, over Christmas actually. When you take any career, right, the careers that you were in, think about yourself, right? There are a lot of doctors here, or there are people who worked in offices, there are engineers, whatever. In our own circles, there was a time that we shined, and maybe still shine, of course, right? But if you just think about it, you shined at a certain thing, and then another person shines in another thing, right? In the same way, your shine was outshined by another person, or you outshined another person in the same department or the same thing that you did. Now think about this shine, right? This shine, just like the stars that we see in the night sky, right? It is not a competition. However, in the things that we do, in certain areas or whatever our actions are, our knowledge, blah, 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 whatever, that shine that we have varies according to the action, the time, all of that. Now, just as the positions that you once held is held by other people, right? You see what I mean? Now, that experience of Atma at that position, the world goes on, right? The world goes on. The position, the place that where you shined, now another person is shining in, right? The world goes on. But what did we assume? We assumed a sense of Atma, right? This is not in any way to, let us not think about it in the mundane sense. Let us think about it in the sense of energy. Those conditions that are present at that time made you shine. But as those conditions pass, you might have shined in other things, blah, blah, blah. You're still shining in certain areas, but those places that you shined before, those positions, those states of mind that you shined in before are now taken over by other people where other stars are now shining. Right? This experience in samsara, we find everyone. As beings arise and pass away, arise and pass away. In certain individuals shine, certain individuals don't at that moment. And then everyone comes to, in that specific moment, shine in some way or the other. Just as, for example, as a doctor, you might have shined in your department, but then in another department, another doctor was shining. Right? Now you see, however, we assume a sense of Atma. How did I assume a sense? I did not think that another doctor is shining in that department. I was thinking about my shine. I was thinking about my shine. This sense, the Papanca, that is where the Manjana comes. The assumption and seeing truth in the notion of self. Through what? Through what? Tanha Ditti Mana. Tanha Ditti Mana. Now what happens after death? What happens after death? The energy that I have at the time of death continues on to another set of conditions suitable for my energy, right? My condition continues with other conditions suitable with each other. And now I take a position where I go through the whole place again. Just like the moon, right? From its no moon stage to the full moon stage and back to the no moon stage, just so this continues. I think it is only me. I think that I am going through a unique experience in the whole of... There are so many other stars. But the assumption is me, and me. Right? At the end of the day, now the point that I'm trying to get at is not the fact that we are worthless, so it means nothing. No. It is the false assumption, right, of self. The false assumption of self created by Papanca, by saññā and manjana. Is that clear? Right? Is that clear? Now, in understanding this, this is what we continue to understand, everyone, through our meditation. Right? When it comes to a Brahmin, a person, right? A person, how it says in the Mahā Sutta is, a true Brahmin. What is a Brahmin? A Brahmin is one who has suppressed, got rid of, not suppressed, got rid of the kilesas. Knowing, Dhanagana, does not fall for the imagined. Now that was a point that I wanted to make. We imagine this sense of self. Now when there is a self, just like the physicality of a cloud, what does it create? Thunder, strife, agony, grief, fight. A true Brahmin, again a Brahmin, a person who has got rid of the kilesas, is no more under the hold of the kilesas, does not fall for the imagined, which is what? A notion. What does that mean, everyone? With our Abhidhamma and Sutra knowledge now, right? Through the saṅkhā, where Papanca was insidious and found within, right? The saṅkhā did what it does. What? Taking of object, through which the consciousness arose with it. Taking object, perceiving data, right? Perceiving data. That data that is now perceived from an impersonal to a personal happens after Vedana, right? After Vedana, now you start clinging as me, myself, and I. Now the impersonal happens. A personal happens, right? We obsess over it. In this obsession, what we create is a notion. We have to have a link way into it, no? Right? We have to have a link way. That is the notion. That notion you believe. That notion you believe as your ultimate. Right? Now, as we meditated, we first saw Vedana as a certain manifestation, as a way that it presented itself. Did not that assumption change? Did that experience or the way that we saw it, did it not change? I'm sorry, did it change? It did change, right? The way that we see the kilesas, did it not change? It changed, right? The way that we look at the mind, once we have learned the Abhidhamma, did it not change? It changed. Did your life not change after coming into the Dhamma and truly putting your time and practice and energy and effort into the Dhamma? It changed. So who are you? If you were one ultimate person, how did you change? A cat can't become a dog. Get what I mean? You can't change your skin. The mind changed. Right? So what is real? The perception, and we are going to end here because it's a lot of data and it's 8:30 as well. The perception that what we have in our domain, right? Now, however much we learn the Dhamma and all of that, there is that part in our heads which says, Hari, meka karanawa, etani devalu tiyenawa, which are important, right? We always assume it or look at it in that way, no? Right? Yes, the Dhamma is true, but there are other things also we must do, right? That sense, right? How can we bring in? Now, this is not to say the Dhamma is the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters in the world, you know, to hell with your children and your grandchildren. This is not to say something like that. But what is correct in saying is, how can I now advert or subscribe to a finer, a profound yoniso manasikara where I can walk the path in the life I have? Because in looking at the kilesas and then looking at the path freeing from suffering, the Arya Ashtanga Marga, the Four Noble Truths, we compartmentalize our mundane life and then our Dhamma life. This can't happen, everyone. How do I? So now I'm going to leave you with a question. What is the right yoniso manasikara? Right? What is the right yoniso manasikara? If this is the imagined, if these are energies, and if it is in subscribing to the notion of Atma that I have created this whole entire life, but however, just because we speak about this does not mean that I can turn off. But what is the effective right yoniso manasikara to cultivate in mind where I do not work in developing two different lifestyles, but how do I amalgamate these two authentically, genuinely, in order that I pursue the liberation path, the path to liberation, nirvana, whilst living within this life that I'm living? Not because I want to live it, because I have no other option. You have no other option. You and I do not have another option. Right? Even if we do end it right here, right now, we continue. we continue. So what is the right Yonso Manasikara to now cultivate in order that we do not subscribe to the hallucinations and the attachment built towards these notions? That is basically the beginning of Papanca. We are going to discuss how we are going to do it next week. Okay, everyone. Yeah, please listen to the talk again, especially the part about the energies, right? The energies, right? Because I felt like it was, during my meditation, and this sort of insight occurred to me, and I was thinking, it is because you see, even for all of us, we shine at different things at different parts of our life, right? Now, for example, in a smaller setting within your household, you definitely shine. Within a group of friends, you shine, right? But just so, for example, within a group of friends, sometimes you're the popular one, sometimes you're not so popular, but then you get popular again, right? Now see how that shine, that energy transfers, right? And we think that this experience is me. But thing is, that position, that experience is experienced by another person. If that experience is you, how can another person be you? These energies, conditions, cause and conditions, it shifts. But because of this skin and everything within the skin and us assuming this mind, we feel that this is self. Right? We feel that this is self. Some of us only see self here, right? But there are people who see self in the houses that they are in, the cars that they have. They don't even want people touching them or coming close to them without their knowledge. The sense of self is so strong, right? The sense of self is so strong. But this, the Buddha says, manyana. So, Papanca, Tanha, Saṅkhā, and Manyana, Tanha, again. I'm going to leave you with that, everyone. Please do listen to the recording as well. Okay? And then if you have any questions, we can talk about it next time.
Okay.
Already.
Sannai Bante.
Everyone, Sannai.
Thank you, Bante. Thiruvan Saranai.
Thank you.
Everyone, Sannai Bante.
Thank you.
Thank you.